This June marks a major shift in collectively gearing up towards new ideological trends to empower us in progress in the present times as we let go of old, stagnant, stale ways of conceptualizing reality. It definitely highlights a rise of new abuzz ideas that are founded upon reconsidering that which is now old. If you are excited to dive into what the month of June 2020 has in store for us astrologically, and then dive into some tarot and some oracle deck cards at the end, make sure that you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you are always up to date with what the stars have in store for you. Hi, I'm Maren, a professional astrologer, author, and as of literally an hour ago, I can't say, or I guess I'm still a student, but I just graduated from NYU as of an hour ago, so my day is going well with my virtual graduation because of the worldwide pandemic. But astrologer, author, and now undergrad graduate with a bachelor's. Okay, we're gonna continue on. I combine traditional Hellenistic astrological techniques with modern psychological counseling dynamics in order to provide grounded spiritual guidance, which is so valued and so pivotal during this time when we can often be looking for something to guide us. And alongside what I offer, this video is also brought to you by BetterHelp, which is an online counseling service. BetterHelp has licensed therapists which are board certified by their state's licensing. And you can receive this licensed counseling through whatever online means works best for you, whether that's phone, tablet, computer, over text, phone, or email. You can be matched with a counselor in under 24 hours as soon as you sign up with this link. BetterHelp also has weekly group-in-R sessions where members can learn together about things such as relationships and anxiety and how to best manage those in these current world times. BetterHelp costs $65 a week and has financial aid available to those who qualify. BetterHelp is available worldwide. BetterHelp is not a crisis hotline. I will leave numbers in the description below if you're looking for something more urgent. To get started, head on over to the link in the description and walk through BetterHelp's easy to follow and specific sign-up process to get matched with a counselor in under 24 hours and begin your counseling services. So let's get into what the transits are for this month of June. As always, your monthly June forecast for your specific sign. The playlist will all be linked down below, and you can watch that after this video to see how specifically this is manifesting in your life so that you get the general overview, and then you are good to go for predicting how this month is going to play out for you and your rising sign. So that'll be linked down below. But we start on the 5th with a lunar eclipse full moon in Sagittarius, and I have a full video on this eclipse also linked down below. This is a really pivotal eclipse because it is the first eclipse in the 1.5-year long cycle of the nodes of the moon in Gemini and Sagittarius. Full moons are always times of culmination, and when the full moon is with the nodes of the moon, it makes it a lunar eclipse. And this one is really setting the tone of what our new collective focus will be, and that is around forging new ways of intellectually stimulating and being curious about new ways of communicating with one another while we let go of outdated structures around philosophy and the way that we conceptualize belief in our society. With the sun really tightly conjunct Venus retrograde, it's making that Venus combust under the sun's beams, and this is highlighting an era of secrecy around the reevaluation of relationship dynamics that we're in the midst in during this Venus retrograde. So eclipses are 6-month-long beginnings or endings, and with this being a lunar eclipse, it is something coming to an end, coming to light, being brought to the surface. So something might be beginning now in secret around relationships and beliefs, or the way of socializing in relationships, that takes a few months to come to light, but is pivotally startling once it does. With the moon then in Sagittarius opposite the Gemini sun, the moon is fairly close to the south node of the moon K2, which represents a diffusing, life-sucking force. So this can represent that we're facing the consequences of decisions that we've made to let go of certain things in our life, maybe not by choice, but by the current world climate. And we're dealing with some of the fatigue that comes along with having the rug pulled out from under you ideologically. The moon is in Jupiter's sign, and Jupiter is in a pretty intense position of having a lack of resources, but also being in the midst of a crisis with Jupiter conjoining Pluto in its fall, and there's a lack of fertile ground for comforting us during this time of kind of having the band-aid ripped off and jumping headfirst into pouring salt on that wound. And with the sun and the moon exactly square Mars in Pisces, this is friction time. This is sparks coming out of the friction of feeling like we need to philosophically stand for something, but not really knowing what even-footed ground we're even standing on, and there being an air of overwhelmment and indecision paralysis. I also see with the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction happening via both planets retrograde, this being a definite signal of an eruption around reversals, and frankly, I think that makes sense given that there's a lot of restrictions being eased and that there is a likelihood of a second wave of this pandemic coming around, that I would just see this as the stark beginning of another round of chaos. Not that every place it's going to be as chaotic as the other, but there is a culmination of another mortality-based crisis being indicated in the months to come here. So that this is a descent, a massive collective descent into grappling with where we need to tread water ideologically now, as we need to proceed most efficiently and least entangledly in our own lives. And that's just starting out June. On the 18th, Mercury stations retrograde in Cancer, and I have a full video coming soon on this Mercury retrograde, like filming it within the next few days, so check in the description or on my channel for the upcoming video on this Mercury retrograde in Cancer. But what's interesting is that this Mercury retrograde is involved in a lot of other more long-term transits, so that even though Mercury retrogrades in themselves aren't a really big deal, they happen every 3 months, it's mostly just snafus and troubles around communication, typical, the cliches really are applicable to Mercury retrograde, but it's a major, it's in a lot of major aspects with the Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto conjunction that is playing out and continuing to go back and forth. It will be in a conversation with Mars and Aries coming up, and so this Mercury retrograde in Cancer, even though it is a more small fractal of the dynamic, is a very good entry point for us to personally deal with what the collective is dealing with trying to find a way to communicate Mercury in a way that is safe and nourishing Cancer, but reevaluating what that safety even means retrograde. And I'm excited to film this video, which I recommend you watch, because this is a more connected Mercury retrograde rather than, it just means this. It really is playing with a lot of other things in the sky that have us reflecting on how do we even make ourselves feel safe when we, I think about how it's just so weird that I'm calling upon this because I just finished a degree in it, as of an hour ago, but in cognition, when we're problem solving, there's problem solving that is very linear and that happens in laboratories, and then there's divergent creative thinking, which is problem solving when the problem is poorly defined and the solution is either undefined or unable to manifest. And that's kind of what we're dealing with here, and I think this Mercury retrograde in Cancer will have us looking at emotional security in a new way. On the 20th, then the sun will enter Cancer, and this highlights the next few weeks of Cancer season of the egoic tone in this society being illuminated as the Cancerian cardinal water energy. And Cancer as a sign is a water sign dealing with emotions, fluidity, empathy, things that connect us and are movable. And as a cardinal sign, it's concerned with initiation. And so cardinal water is, how do I get myself into a place of emotional homeostasis? This is why the Cancer crab can be seen moving side to side, feeling things out, and can be seen sometimes as very nurturing and able to be the shoulder to cry on, but also kind of emotionally provocative. If you wrong them, they can be kind of I'm gonna ram you back in the emotional way that'll even things out. So that'll be a focus of the tone for the next few weeks, and will be especially important because, like I said, there's so much happening in cardinal signs right now, with Capricorn still being activated and Mars about to enter Aries, as I'll bring up, that this Cancer sun is the authority we're looking to is that of emotional authority. Then on the 21st, there is a solar eclipse, aka a new moon on steroids in Cancer. Another full video is up on this Cancer solar eclipse, meaning that the sun and the moon are both in Cancer. This is a one last last final hurrah to declare that you're going to commit to making yourself cared for and dealing with your inner child. And it really does set the tone for the next 6 months around creating a safe yet realistic home for yourself as we transition out of thoughts about home and safety and more into how do I even think about the world. What's really interesting about this eclipse is that the sun and the moon are at 0 degrees of Cancer while the nodes are at 29 degrees of Gemini and Sagittarius. So it's a really close eclipse, but it's out of sign, so that we're barely holding on to this Cancerian notion of needing to bring ourselves comfort, while we know that the priority is leaving from personal comfort into collective ideological issues. And with the sun and the moon co-present with Mercury retrograde, again, Mercury retrograde and reconsidering emotional values of safety and security are part of the big picture right now, of just grappling with what will bring us the most logical sense in how we're feeling. And with the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction even closer to near exact, there's further culmination of cataclysm around reversal, and it's the inflation of this crisis of stepping back from something that I'm not looking forward to. And frankly, this summer really just has a lot of purging, like, boom energy, and as we get into July, it's ramping up. Overall, this particular solar eclipse is pretty confusing and nuanced, and both emotionally overwhelming and abrasive. You guys know I don't sugarcoat. It's not, like, all bad or all whatever. Nothing is either bad or good ever, but the tones coming up for it are very sober and very serious, and yeah, the video gets more into that one. On the 25th, Venus in Gemini will station direct. There's another, for all of these transits, I'm like, I have a full video on that, but you guys know I put out content, like, basically, I don't know, 65 videos a day. So there's a full video on this Venus retrograde that you can watch down below if you're watching this in the beginning of the month and it's still in the middle of this Venus retrograde. I'm filming this in the end of May, but the Venus stationing direct in Gemini is indicating that no, we are not out of the water with some of the Venus and Gemini confusion around relationships and communication in relationships and learning, but we're beginning to take what we have rethought out and apply it. So it's a slow build-up back to moving forward. Venus will not clear shadow until July, but we can think of Venus stationing direct on the 25th as, okay, no more grinding in relationships, and now we can actually move ahead with learning from our recalibration and moving ahead with learning new things in how we talk and communicate and converse with one another in the weirds that we're in. On the 27th, Mars enters Aries, and this is a major transit because Mars is entering its home sign of Aries, the cardinal fire sign that it rules, until January 2021. Mars will literally be in Aries for 6 months, which is very, very novel and really marked in its retrograde cycle, that it will be spending 6 months in a sign. Mars usually spends around 2, sometimes a little more than that, months in a sign. So with the retrograde leading to it spending 6 months in the sign, this is a big deal. This is going to be in conversation with the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction in Capricorn as it's square by sign, and it's further marking this drive to want to do, this drive to want to accomplish, and to go after primal urges to create in the midst of a crisis, being like, wait, how do we go, when there is a ton of absolute cataclysmic garbage to deal with in a larger scheme. Like, how does the ego of the self initiate itself as a hero and as courageous in the midst of larger grand schemes that might put specific conditions on that? So this is really marked, especially in the midst of squaring the sun in Cancer, squaring Mercury in Cancer, and there being a lot of squares in the sky right now really indicates a lot of friction from, like, fellow teammates. Squares are aspects of Martian origin. They are directly combative, not in this oppositional, like, we see each other and we're coming at each other, more like like nagging kids. That's what a square kind of is, that I think of. They're egging each other on. And there's a lot of egging each other on in this June, and as someone myself who has a lot of, like, Mars, Neptune, Mars, Uranus, who's like, I don't know what competition is, I don't know who you are, I don't know who I am, I'm confused. This is just a lot of inner fighting in the team going on here, and Mars entering Aries is like, yay, you're at home, but also home is not safe right now. And then on the 30th, we have Jupiter and Pluto conjoining in Capricorn, which is a year-long transit happening several times around, I hope my inner corner is not coming up here. My transition from eyelash extensions to lashes has not been the easiest here, but Like I mentioned, Jupiter and Pluto conjoining is the expansion of a mortal-based catastrophe, and with them both retrograde, this is indicating that the reversals around the steps that these are indicated is climbing up. So even though I'm recording this in late May, I don't feel uncomfortable making a prediction that there will be consequences for the inevitable dance that we have to do in easing up restrictions in certain places, and I think that more than likely the non-progressive areas of at least the US, which have somehow seen viral intervention as an act of, I'm not even gonna go there, you guys, clearly I'm highly leftist, so we're gonna leave it at that, but hopefully we all stay safe during the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction coming up. So, I mean, how is this month feeling for you as we enter June? How are you vibing with this? Do you know how this is showing up in your chart? I would love to hear you. I'm not making this all gloom and doom. I'm just showing that there's some drama, that's the word for June. May was emo, June is dramatic, and leave a comment down below how the drama is showing up for you. Now let's get into a tarot card. So we have the Empress, which is really interesting because the Empress is associated with Venus. She deals with having your desires manifested. I think that then with so much coming up around Cancer and the decans in Cancer that are activated being those of satisfaction of like worldly pleasures, I think that we might be getting what we asked for and dealing with what that means. What does it mean when we're at a point of getting things in the midst of a world of loss? It really can be this, how do I act from a place of egoic manifestation that is courageous in the way that I'm not playing small, but I'm also not invalidating the smallness that others might feel unintentionally. So finally, let's pull a Work Your Light Oracle deck card to see what Oracle deck guidance comes up for the collective for June. We have Council of Light, Divine Orchestration, Helpers in Subtle Realms. Connecting with your guides or your ascended masters, I think having a spiritual practice during all of this is vitally important. Like I said, part of that spiritual practice can be reaching out for help with BetterHelp link down below. It can be being your own source of connection if you adopt a meditation practice or something like that, but making sure that with all the drama happening, you're pulling yourself back to self and you're not abandoning yourself, that in the midst of so much ideological racing, that you're able to have that inner light still constant and still burning. So if you enjoyed this and you would like to check out my private astrology readings, those are linked down below. I would love to read for you during this time. Check out Rashi down below. Rashi is my spiritual platform that connects spiritual practitioners and their ideal clients to facilitate healing. It is kind of like a spiritual Yelp service. If you're looking to post your virtual services because you're a healer, that's down below. BetterHelp is down below offering a discount via my code. Would love to have you join through that. And otherwise, make sure that you like, subscribe, comment down below any thoughts that you have as we enter the drama-filled month of June, and anything that you are looking to share. I would love to hear it. Sending so much love, and I will see you in the next one.
There is one thing